want to see
In
this.
2012, the Douglas County Internet Crimes Unit barged into Chris Anderson's house and grabbed his electronics like it was some kind of heist movie. Turns out they thought he was tied up in child exploitation. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. He was actually being catfished by a woman named Shelley Chartier, living in the frozen wilderness of Manitoba with no internet until she was 20. Yep, that's who did it. Shelley created fake profiles and pretended to be everyone. Anderson, a made-up guy named Tom Taylor, even someone's mom. She tricked a 17-year-old named Paris Dunn into flying to Denver to meet Anderson, who thought the whole thing was set up by Tom. Paris showed up, hung out with him, realized stuff was weird, and went home. Then came the threats. Shelley, still pretending to be other people, tried to extort Anderson for about $3,000 and bombarded Paris with threats involving nude photos. The police finally traced the whole mess back to Canada. Anderson was cleared, no charge. He even went on to win a title with Miami. Meanwhile, Chartier got arrested, pleaded guilty, and spent 18 months in prison. She's now banned from using the internet.
Bro was going through that the whole
The teams
season
cracked
and
the
won
whole
the
thing wide open,
championship.
proving that
Pretty much
sometimes
said
real
fuck
life
you to
is
your
way
face
weirder
too.
than any drama on court. Malik
Bro literally
Beasley,
said, "Fuck
gambling
you to your
investigation.
face, too."
Federal prosecutors started digging into Malik Beasley's betting activity after a major sportsbook flagged a suspicious spike in wagers tied to his game stats. Not final scores, just stuff
Damn.
like points and three-pointers. This all started around January of 2024, when he was playing for Milwaukee, and the red flags flew through the rest of that season. What made it worse? Beasley's financial mess. The man reportedly owed over $8 million, including debt
Damn.
from a dentist of all people. His marketing agency also sued him, demanding over $2 million for unpaid advances. So yeah, definitely motivation, but still no proof of wrongdoing. By late June
That's why you don't bet.
2025, the feds
That's why you
got
don't
involved.
bet.
No formal charges yet, just a giant spotlight, and a lawyer screaming, presumed innocent, at the media. The NBA confirmed they're working with investigators, but they're keeping it vague. The Pistons were ready to hand him a 3-year, $42 million deal. But once the news broke, they hit pause, faster than a coach calling timeout during a meltdown. Beasley's career is now dangling in limbo, and depending on how this goes, he could lose everything. Jonte Porter's lifetime ban last year set the bar. Now Beasley's name is floating in the same waters, and while the case hasn't exploded, it's simmering. Betting scandals aren't new, but this one's messy, and it's still unfolding. Every update could swing his future one way or the other. Billy Knight's suicide case. Billy Knight, a former UCLA guard who went undrafted in the 2002 NBA draft, was arrested in June 2018 on 6 felony charges, 2 counts each of sexual abuse, sexual conduct with a minor, and molestation, all tied to alleged incidents involving his ex-girlfriend's 9-year-old daughter. Court documents said the acts happened while the child was asleep or during movies on the couch between April 2017 and March 2018. Knight posted bail at $100,000 and was released by the end of June. But just days later, prosecutors pushed to revoke his release. On July 8th, he uploaded a 6-minute YouTube video titled "I Am Sorry, Lord," where he confessed to a life of sin and admitted he was mentally spiraling. He said he heard voices, felt alone, and begged others to get help if they were struggling, especially former athletes or people in career transition. Just hours later, his body was found downtown in Phoenix. No foul play. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide by blunt force trauma from jumping off a building. Knight played overseas after college, suited up for the Harlem Globetrotters, and even made a stop in the G League with Northern Arizona. But his case ended without a trial. The charges were never adjudicated. His death came right after another UCLA alum, Tyler Honeycutt, also died by suicide. It sparked more serious discussions about mental health in post-athletic life and what's still not being addressed. Derek, character IHOP, arrest. On April 24th, 2011, rookie forward Derek Character found himself in a mess after stumbling into an IHOP in New Orleans. The Lakers were in town for a playoff series, but Character apparently had other priorities, like arguing with a cashier over pancakes, while clearly drunk out of his mind.
Bro?
Witnesses said he was belligerent after being denied service and allegedly shoved a female cashier. Early reports claimed she was pregnant, but police later clarified she wasn't. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt either. Still, not the kind of night you want during the postseason. Character was arrested just after 1 a.m. and charged with battery, public intoxication, and resisting arrest. He got booked at Orleans Parish Jail and released later that same day after posting about $1,000 in bond. Not exactly the pre-game routine any coach would suggest. The Lakers weren't thrilled. Team officials said they were investigating, and unsurprisingly, Character wasn't made available to the media. The arrest came as the team was already managing injury concerns and Character's incident just added more distraction. He was already viewed as a fringe player, picked 58th overall, and this didn't help his case. For someone trying to earn minutes in the postseason, getting hauled off from a pancake joint probably wasn't the move. His standing on the team never really recovered after that night. Ron Artest, halftime drinking admission. In 2009, Ron Artest casually dropped one of the wildest confessions in NBA history. He used to drink Hennessy during halftime, not after the game, not at the club, right there in the locker room during the break. He told Sporting News he'd even walk to a nearby liquor store before tip-off like it was just part of the routine. This happened early in his career with the Chicago Bulls, from 1999 to 2002. He was around 20 years old, partying every night and basically operating like a human warning label. He said he was immature, reckless, and used alcohol and weed to handle the pressure that came with fame. When the interview went viral, Artest later told ESPN that he wasn't bragging about it. He wanted it to be a lesson, not a celebration. According to him, the whole Hennessy thing only lasted a few weeks, maybe a month, but still, the image of a young NBA player sipping cognac in the locker room mid-game, that stuck. No fines, no suspensions. The Lakers and the league just saw it as old news from a past life. Teammates like Brad Miller joked about it, because honestly, no one ever knew if Artest was serious or just being, well, Artest. Either way, it pulled back the curtain on how chaotic things really were for him early on. Shaq's locker room poop pranks? So apparently, Shaq's idea of team bonding involved feces, buckets, and traumatized rookies. According to Gary Payton, Shaq once collected his own waste for a week and dumped it on rookies while they were in the bathroom. He said it happened with the Lakers and the Heat. Yeah, imagine surviving training camp only to get dumped on, literally. Then there's Ty Lue's story. He claimed Shaq defecated in Devine George's shoe before a game. George allegedly stepped right into it. Except, plot twist, Devine denied it ever happened to him and said Shaq may have pulled that off in Orlando, not LA. So basically, we've entered NBA folklore territory, where no one's really sure who got pranked or who's just protecting their dignity. Shaq responded in January
protected his dumbass
2025,
dignity.
denying the poop bucket and the shoe incident. He said it didn't happen, full stop. So that's his side. But then comes the Phoenix Suns years. Matt Barnes and Jason Richardson told a disgusting tale about Shaq putting a mouthpiece in his rectum, placing it in Lou Amundsen's locker, and then watching Lou unknowingly pop it into his mouth during a game. That one's never been publicly denied by Lou. So you do the math. Not every story checks out, but the mouthguard stunt is backed up enough to haunt your dreams. Either way, this isn't leadership. It's gastrointestinal terrorism wrapped in a locker room towel. Ty Lawson, CBA, lifetime ban. On September 19th, 2020, Ty Lawson was cut from the Fujian Sturgeons and banned for life from the Chinese Basketball Association. Why? Because he posted some wildly inappropriate content on Instagram. One story showed him at a Chinese strip club. Another featured a caption about Chinese women having cakes on the low, which didn't exactly scream cultural awareness. The comment was blasted as objectifying and offensive, with league officials and fans calling it disrespectful toward Chinese women. It didn't help that it was paired with sexually suggestive videos and photos. Fujian's front office wasted no time, citing the post as completely out of line with their values and accusing Lawson of damaging the league's image. The CBA didn't hesitate either. They handed down a full lifetime ban, just like that. Lawson's overseas career in China was over, and this came before the 2021 season even started, meaning he got cut before setting foot back on the court. Lawson responded a few days later, saying he meant no harm and that people misinterpreted what he wrote. He said he wasn't racist and was shocked by the reaction. His explanation? He thought cakes was just a compliment about body shape. Whether clueless or careless, the damage was done. The ban stood, and Lawson's chapter in the CBA closed permanently, highlighting just how unforgiving things can get when social media, cultural boundaries, and bad judgment collide. Doug Christie marriage control allegations. During the early 2000s, Doug Christie's NBA career became almost inseparable.
That's not his fault,
from
bro.
his
He was
wife,
just
Jackie.
having a good
And
time, bro. That's not his fault.
Jackie was reportedly
The
everywhere.
CBA
She
went
stood behind him
crazy
during
on him,
interviews,
bro, for
left
that.
him notes in his locker,
And he'll
and
go on
monitored
the
his
other
texts
overseas
like she was
games.
guarding national secrets. He'd flash her a pinky, "I love you" sign 50 to 60 times a game. That's not an exaggeration. Media outlets reported it as ritual every single game. Jackie also joined him on team flights, games, road trips, you name it. Sometimes she even rode in a separate vehicle just to keep close. One of the weirder claims? She controlled who he could talk to, especially female reporters. Teammates said she'd block conversations and hover during interviews. Pam Oliver supposedly felt awkward trying to talk to Doug while Jackie loomed silently behind him. And yes, they renewed their vows every year. Full ceremony, reception.
Ugh! This picture looks ugly as fuck! This looks like Barney. No, I can't say that's fucked up. Wow. But look at that ugly ass face! That's a man's face! What the fuck is that nose? What is that nose? Oh God, help me! Oh, please look at that the fucking nose is big as shit. The fuck is that? Hell no! Hell no! 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 No!
Cake, the whole shebang. This wasn't just a marriage, it was an annual reboot. While fans and media mocked the dynamic, calling it controlling or obsessive, Doug and Jackie insisted it was strategic. He said it kept him grounded and focused. Jackie booked his appearances, managed distractions, and made sure he stayed out.
This is what I don't understand about you guys. You want something like this? This is literally what I don't want. I'd rather no, fuck no, fuck to the no. You rather be a fucking man? Just be a fucking man. Don't let this shit ever happen to you. Do never let this shit ever happen to you. Be a fucking man and do your own thing, Sid. Fuck that. Don't let shit like this control you. Like, no, fuck no.
of trouble. Still, when an NBA team reportedly passed on signing Doug because they didn't want Jackie on the road, it was clear their setup wasn't exactly standard issue locker room behavior. Miles Bridges' domestic violence case. Back on June 29, 2022,
Yeah, he came back though.
Miles Bridges was arrested in Los Angeles for allegedly assaulting his ex-girlfriend in front of their 2 kids. He posted a $130,000 bond, and a few weeks later was charged with felony injuring a parent and 2 counts of felony child abuse. He pleaded not guilty right away. By November 3rd, he took a no contest plea to the injuring a parent charge. The child abuse charges were dropped. The court handed him 3 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, domestic violence counseling, parenting classes, weekly drug testing, and a 10-year protective order. No jail, but a long list of restrictions. Then came the NBA suspension. In April 2023, he was suspended for 30 games, with 20 credited as already served from the previous season. That left 10 more games to sit out. At the beginning of 2024, the Hornets still re-signed him on a 1-year deal worth $7.9 million. But in October, things flared up again. Bridges allegedly threw pool balls at his ex's car with the kids inside. A warrant had already been
This dumbass right here.
issued back in January. He turned himself in and was released on a $1,000 bond. By February 13th, all 3 new charges were dismissed. Prosecutors said the evidence was too weak to move forward. Bridges stayed on probation, followed court orders, and remained with Charlotte. Once his suspension ended, his case was messy, but legally, that chapter closed. Cameron Payne, Terry Johnson arrest. On June 14th, 2024, Cameron Payne called 911 around 2:30 in the morning from his home in Scottsdale. He said he needed help after a verbal fight with his girlfriend, but when the dispatcher asked for his name, he insisted it was Terry Johnson. Not once, over and over. When officers arrived, Payne and his girlfriend said everything was fine, but under domestic protocols, cops needed his real name. Instead of cooperating, Payne doubled down. He gave a fake birth date, January 1st, 1998, and stuck to the alias. Eventually,
The fuck is this motherfucker doing? yo, you were like having a fight with your girl, then you call nah, that's like that's some weird shit right there, bro. You being weird, bro. You're really being weird, babe. Nah, what the fuck are you doing?
he blurted out Cameron Payne, but then backpedaled, saying that was fake too. One cop said, "Congratulations," before cuffing him, calling it the dumbest way to get arrested. It really was. They said they could have been gone in 5 minutes. Payne was booked on 2 misdemeanors, giving a false name and filing a false report. In December, he pleaded guilty to the false report charge. The other count was dropped. Court records say he likely paid fines or entered a diversion. The Knicks signed him that July anyway, handing him a 1-year, $3 million deal. His new nickname? Terry. Teammates ran with it. Josh Hart even tweeted, "Shout out Terry." Body cam footage.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw. It was funny because when I saw that Cameron Payne got signed with the Knicks, and I saw that Josh Hart says "shout out to Terry," I was like, oh, he did not bring up that situation about Payne, bro. That shit is funny.
Cops literally laughed at the situation mid-arrest. A brief, stupid decision earned Payne a new label a court date, and a lifetime of Terry jokes in the locker room. Brandon
Come
Miller,
on,
Alabama.
bro. See, now that's not even a scandal to too dark to cover right there. That's just a funny ass fucking arrest, dude. That could be on a documentary of anything, bro. That shit is just funny, bro. I don't know what he did think doing that. Even the cops laughed. They even knew they knew they were getting fucked over too. And they knew it's like, well, fuck, a basketball player fucked us over too as a joke, but he literally had a fight with him, and oh my god.
Shooting involvement. On January 15th, 2023, Jamea Harris was shot and killed near the Strip in Tuscaloosa. She was with her boyfriend in a vehicle when gunfire struck her. Two men, Michael Davis and Darius Miles, were later indicted for capital murder. Miles allegedly handed the gun to Davis, who fired into the victim's car. Brandon Miller wasn't charged, but he did drive the car that brought the gun. Police said the weapon was found in the back seat of his vehicle. His attorney claimed Miller never touched the firearm, didn't know its purpose, and gave full access to his phone and car during the investigation. Prosecutors confirmed he was a cooperating witness, not a suspect. At Michael Davis's trial in May 2025, Miller testified he received texts from Miles asking for a joint, a code word believed to mean the gun. Dashcam video played in court showed Miller arriving, Davis retrieving the weapon, and shots being fired. 2 bullets even struck Miller's windshield. He said he got no immunity deal and cooperated fully. In October 2023, Harris's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Miller, Miles, and Davis. It accused all 3 of knowing the danger a gun posed during a dispute.
Okay.
Gun posed during a dispute. The civil case is still active. Despite controversy, Miller was drafted 2nd overall by Charlotte in June 2023.
Charlotte just drafting all the controversy,
and
dude.
continues to face no criminal charges while playing in the NBA under close public scrutiny. Connie Hawkins, point shaving scandal, fallout. In 1961, college basketball got rocked by a gambling scandal that swept up players from 22 schools. Fixer Jack Molinas was at the center of it all, paying players to shave points. But somehow, Connie Hawkins, a freshman at Iowa who wasn't even eligible for varsity games, got caught in the mess. Hawkins had taken a $200 loan from Molinas, money he paid back through his brother before any scandal broke. That was it. No involvement in fixing games. No witnesses ever claimed he helped. Still, he was interrogated without a lawyer, dragged before a grand jury, and never charged. Didn't matter. He got expelled from Iowa and banned by both the NCAA and NBA. The guy was 19, hadn't played a minute of varsity ball, and already exiled from the league. He spent the next few years lighting up the ABL, Harlem Globetrotters, and the ABA. In 1969, he sued the NBA for $6 million. They settled for about $1.3 million and finally lifted the ban. The Phoenix Suns scooped him up, and he didn't waste time. He became an all-star and made first team All-NBA. In 1992, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. No gambler ever said he was involved, yet his career was nearly stolen. His story is one of the NBA's most frustrating and powerful redemption. Connie Hawkins deserved better, and he earned it anyway. Jeff Taylor, domestic violence suspension. On September 25th, 2014, Jeff Taylor was arrested at a Marriott in East Lansing, Michigan, after getting into a dispute with his girlfriend. He pushed her, slapped her arm, and punched a hotel wall, which led to 3 charges: domestic assault, and property damage. A month later, he pleaded guilty to 2 misdemeanors, domestic assault and destruction of property under $200. The 3rd charge got dropped in exchange for his plea. He was sentenced to 18 months probation, ordered into a 26-week intervention program, hit with 80 hours of community service, and placed under strict alcohol testing. The NBA didn't sit back. Commissioner Adam Silver suspended Taylor for 24 games without pay, docking him almost $200,000 in salary. Silver said the punishment was about sending a message. Taylor's actions violated not just the law, but the league's moral standards. Not everyone agreed. NBPA head Michelle Roberts called the suspension excessive, arguing the collective bargaining agreement didn't allow such penalties for misdemeanors. But Taylor didn't appeal. He took the hit and said he just wanted to move forward. The case was a first under the NBA's sharpened lens on domestic violence, especially in the wake of NFL scandal. Taylor's suspension became one of the league's longest ever for off-court behavior, setting a precedent for how future incidents would be handled. Matt Geiger blocks Iverson trade. In the summer of 2000, the Sixers were ready to push Allen Iverson out the door. Friction with Larry Brown had boiled over. A 4-team trade was set. shipping Iverson and Matt Geiger to Detroit in exchange for veterans like Glenn Rice, Eddie Jones, and Jerry Stackhouse. The plan? Rip the heart out of Philly and rebuild it clean. But buried deep in Matt Geiger's contract was a trade kicker clause. If traded, he'd pocket an extra $1.2 million per year for the next 4 years. Under league cap rules, that bonus had to be waived to make the deal work. Geiger said no. Coldly, plainly, no. He claimed it was an easy decision. He didn't want to go to Detroit, and he didn't think Iverson belonged there either. Just like that, the deal died. No movement, no press release, just silence and broken phones. Iverson stayed, and what followed was a season straight out of mythology. He won MVP. The Sixers hit 56 wins. He dragged a battered team to the finals, and it only happened because a journeyman center decided he wanted his money. Geiger's refusal wasn't brave, it wasn't noble, it was contractual, but it saved a franchise's soul and altered two franchises' fates. Somewhere in the wreckage of what could have been, the legend of Allen Iverson was sharpened, and Matt Geiger became the accidental gatekeeper of Philly's last real era of glory. And if you're like me, the NBA offseason is your time to recharge. But while the game slowed down, your goals shouldn't. That's why I've been using factoring. I'm a disappointed, but statement. Just skipping on your first drug suspension. On February 26, 2020, Malik Monk was suspended indefinitely without pay for violating the NBA's anti-drug program. No press conference, no long statement, just a cold league memo confirming he wouldn't return until he proved he was in full compliance. At the time, Monk was finally finding his rhythm. 10 points a game, nearly 3 boards, and his best stretch of the season. But then came the announcement. The Hornets said they were disappointed, but they'd support it. A quiet line in a team state, hollow in tone. What wasn't announced was what he took. The NBA doesn't say when it's a drug of abuse, but this suspension came under stage 1, the tier reserved for things like cocaine or heroin. Whatever it wasn't just weed. Monk never addressed it publicly. The league never clarified. He was reinstated on June 8th after completing treatment, testing clean, and meeting the program's condition. Thanks to the COVID pause, he only missed 8 games, from indefinite exile to reinstatement in just over 3 months. The silence around the whole thing still lingers. No big apology tour, no detailed redemption arc, just a promising player yanked off the floor, then slotted back in, like nothing happened. It was a reminder that behind the stats and highlight reels, there are quiet violations, darker chapters, stuff the league buries under phrases like stage 1 compliance. Monk moved on, but the silence still echoed. Corey Blount's arrest. Deputies in Liberty Township thought they were just delivering a package, but it turned into a full-on bust. Back in December of 2008, Blount picked up an 11-pound box of marijuana that had been sent through the Postal Service. After that, officers searched the place and found another 11-pound package, plus a separate stash weighing 7 pounds. That's 29 pounds total.
Damn.
That's not just a bad weekend decision. Along with the weed, authorities took $29,500 in cash, 3 vehicles including a 1996 Mercedes and 2 SUVs, and 3 firearms. Blount was charged with felony drug possession, but trafficking charges were dropped later through a plea deal. By April of 2009, he pleaded guilty to 2 felony counts. The following month, the judge handed him a 1-year prison sentence and a $10,000 fine. On top of that, Blount had to give up $34,000 and 2 of the cars. No early release either. He served every single day. And yeah, Blount claimed the weed was all for personal use. That didn't go over well. The judge basically mocked the idea, saying even Cheech and Chong would have been overwhelmed. After his release, he went through 5 years of probation and did 250 hours of community service. This was a former pro player who had a decade-long career in the league. He played from 1993 to 2004 and was a college standout before that. But the court clearly didn't buy any part of the "it's just for me" routine. Tony Roten, NBA insurance fraud. In October 2021, federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment that named 18 former NBA players and 1 spouse for conspiring to defraud the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan. Over $4 million in fake claims were submitted, and $2.5 million was actually paid out. Among those indicted, Tony Roten. From 2017 through 2020, Roten submitted invoices for treatments that never happened. Prosecutors said he worked with former player Terrence Williams, the scheme's ringleader, who created fake documents from phony providers. In return, players like Roten kicked back a cut. Over $230,000 in all was funneled back to Williams. Roten pleaded guilty to conspiracy. He didn't serve prison time, but received a 3-month suspended sentence and a fine. Other defendants weren't so lucky. Will Bynum got 18 months, and Williams was sentenced to 10 years behind bars, plus millions in restitution. This wasn't small-time fraud. It was an organized operation targeting the league's own health plan. What made it darker was the trust violated. These were former athletes exploiting a safety net built for injured players and long-term care. Roten faded from the NBA years ago, but this made sure his name didn't disappear quietly. It became another entry on a growing list of post-career scandals, where the headlines are no longer about points or contracts, but crime, deception, and reputations gone hollow. Mark Cuban tanking fine. On February 18th, 2018, Mavericks owner Mark Cuban appeared on a podcast with Dr. J and said the quiet part out loud. His exact words, "I'm probably not supposed to say this, but losing is our best option." He was talking about the Dallas Mavericks, a franchise actively swirling the tank drain at 18 wins and 40 losses near the All-Star break. The comment wasn't coded. It was a public confession of strategic failure. One Cuban claimed had been in place for a year and a half. 3 days later, the NBA fined him $600,000. Commissioner Adam Silver called it public statements detrimental to the NBA. It remains one of the largest personal fines ever handed down to a team owner. Cuban backpedaled, saying he got caught up fanboying Dr. J and lost his filter. But the damage was done. Dirk Nowitzki, loyal to the idea of dignity on court, told reporters, "We never play to lose." The moment crystallized a truth the league didn't want to acknowledge out loud. Tanking exists, but it must be whispered, never broadcast. Cuban crossed that line. The league responded not to the act, but to the honesty. In the NBA, the problem isn't always the losing. It's admitting that you meant to. Meyers Leonard's slur and suspension. On March 8th, 2021, Meyers Leonard went live on Twitch to play Call of Duty. Somewhere between bullets and bad banter, he said the word kike, one of the most vicious anti-Semitic slurs in the English language. And he said it casually, like a gamer might say reload or grenade. The internet noticed. Quickly, within hours, the NBA condemned him. On March 11th, the league fined Leonard $50,000, suspended him from all team activities for a week, and mandated diversity training. Commissioner Adam Silver said the words were inexcusable. Leonard apologized, claiming he didn't understand the slur's meaning. His apology read more like a man caught off guard than enlightened. Meanwhile, sponsors weren't waiting. FaZe Clan dropped him. Gaming brands backed out. His NBA team, the Miami Heat, traded him to the Thunder for nothing but contract shrapnel. The Thunder waived him. Just like that, he vanished. For 2 years, Leonard worked on what people now call the long apology. He visited Holocaust survivors, attended ADL seminars, listened instead of speaking. In February 2023, the Milwaukee Bucks gave him a 10-day contract. Not a clean slate, but a thin thread. His story is less about a slur and more about what happens after. The silence, the outreach, the very public question. Can a player come back after showing the world who he really is, even for a second? Joey Crawford's suspension. It all went down in April of 2007. The San Antonio Spurs were facing the Dallas Mavericks, and Tim Duncan was sitting on the bench with one technical already on his name. Then he laughed. That's it. He laughed after a foul call, and referee Joey Crawford saw red. He hit Duncan with a second technical and tossed him, even though the guy wasn't even in the game at the time. What followed was even more unhinged. Crawford reportedly asked Duncan if he wanted to fight, like literally challenged him. Duncan was stunned, said he had no clue what was happening or why it escalated like that. The league was not amused. Duncan got slapped with a $25,000 fine for talking back, but Crawford got the real hammer. The NBA suspended him indefinitely for behavior that crossed way past the line of professionalism. He ended up missing the entire rest of the season and the playoffs, breaking a streak of 21 straight postseason appearances for him. Crawford eventually had to go through anger management therapy, which he said actually made him better. He later admitted that he learned to reset mentally every 24 seconds. This was Duncan's only career ejection, and Crawford's reputation never fully recovered from it. Elgin Baylor's lawsuit. In February of 2009, Baylor filed a lawsuit against Donald Sterling, the Clippers, the NBA, and Andy Roser. He claimed he'd been wrongfully terminated and that the organization operated like a modern-day plantation. Baylor alleged racial and age-based discrimination, saying the team maintained a toxic hierarchy rooted in race and control. It wasn't just vague accusations either. He brought up disturbing remarks Sterling allegedly made over the years, including telling Danny Manning that his offer was generous for a poor black kid. Baylor also said Sterling wanted a roster full of poor black players coached by a white man. It got even messy. Baylor described locker room visits where Sterling would allegedly bring women to watch players shower and comment on their bodies. All of
What
that,
the?
combined with Baylor's claim that he was underpaid and that Mike Dunleavy, the white head coach, made over $22 million, pointed to deep problems. Baylor's own salary had been frozen at $350,000 for years. By March of 2011, Baylor dropped the race part of the case and focused only on age discrimination. A jury ruled against him, siding with Sterling. But years later, when Sterling was banned for life after those infamous recordings came out, Baylor's claims didn't sound so far-fetched. His lawsuit may have lost, but the message aged very well. Jamal Tinsley's club incidents. In October of 2006, during Pacers training camp, Jamal Tinsley was out with teammates at Club Rio, a strip club in Indianapolis. That night, Steven Jackson fired a handgun after an altercation in the parking lot. Tinsley wasn't charged, but police found marijuana in his car. That same vehicle allegedly had about 25 guns inside, according to Al Harrington years later. Tinsley and Marquis Daniels were already under the microscope from an earlier bar fight that year. Then came December of 2007. Tinsley and his group left a nightclub called Cloud 9 in 3 flashy cars. Someone started following them and opened fire with a high-powered rifle. The Pacers equipment manager was shot, but survived. Tinsley wasn't hit. His group followed the attackers to a hotel, where Tinsley's brother returned fire with a 9mm. Again, Tinsley faced no charges. Hotel footage showed him calmly cooperating with police. The Pacers didn't punish him, but made it clear things had to change. Coach Jim O'Brien and Larry Bird both stressed how serious the situation was, even though Tinsley hadn't broken any laws. These incidents added fuel to an already rocky image of the Pacers. No arrests, no suspensions, but plenty of red flags. Tinsley became a symbol of how quickly things could spiral, even without pulling a trigger. Allen Iverson's jewelry garnishment. In 2010, Allen Iverson was sued by Leiden and Company Jewelers out of Georgia for failing to pay a jewelry bill totaling $375,000. He didn't respond to the lawsuit at all. That silence led to a default judgment, meaning the court sided with the jeweler by default. No court battle, no defense, just a rubber stamp in the jeweler's favor. But it didn't stop there. By January of 2012, that debt had exploded to nearly $860,000. Interest, legal fees, and court costs all piled on, more than doubling the original amount. And still, Iverson did nothing to fight it, so a Gwinnett County judge gave the green light for Leiden to go directly into Iverson's Wells Fargo bank accounts. The garnishment was official. His account could legally be drained to cover the debt. This wasn't about gambling or anything scandalous beyond unpaid jewelry, but it painted a bigger picture. Iverson made over $150 million during his NBA career, and yet a 6-figure jewelry bill went unpaid. No bankruptcy filing, no statement, just a long, expensive silence. His defenders said it was overspending, poor money management, and no legal action to stop the bleeding. The result? Nearly $860,000 gone, without a single courtroom appearance from Iverson. Grayson Allen's dirty plays. Back in college, the mess started early. In February of 2016, Allen tripped Ray Spalding from Louisville and earned a flagrant foul. Just weeks later, he stuck his leg out again, this time on Xavier Rathan Mays of Florida State. The game was basically over, but Allen couldn't help himself. The conference slapped him with a reprimand, but no suspension. Then in December, things exploded. While playing Elon, Allen tripped Steven Santana and completely lost it on the bench. Duke suspended him indefinitely and yanked his captain title. The drama still wasn't done. In March of 2018, during the conference tournament, Allen gave Garrison Brooks a hip check that got ruled a flagrant one. Then came the pros. In July of 2019, Allen got ejected from a summer league game after back-to-back flagrant fouls against Boston. People called them cheap shots. He was tossed, but the real heat came in January of 2022. Playing for Milwaukee, Allen hit Alex Caruso mid-air. Caruso fractured his wrist, and the NBA suspended Allen for 1 game. Bulls coach Billy Donovan called the foul dangerous and career-threatening. No charges, no ban, but the reputation stuck. Some say he's just intense. Others call him dirty. But from tripping kids in college to causing injuries in the NBA, Allen's track record keeps feeding the debate. And yeah, people still remember every single one of those plays. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here.
Fucking crazy ass, dude. Crazy ass. Hey, yeah, he's crazy. He's a crazy basketball player.